Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the November meeting of the Scottsdale Parent Council. Can we please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll do our land acknowledgement. As we gather for this meeting, let us take a moment to reflect on the meaning of place, and in doing so, recognize the various traditional lands on which we do our business today. We wish to acknowledge this land on which this SPC meeting is taking place. For thousands of years, it has been the traditional land of the Hohokam, the Akimel Oram, and most recently, the Salt River Pima Indian community. Today, this meeting place is still home to many indigenous people from across Maricopa, and we are grateful to have had the opportunity to live and work on this land. Okay, so today's meeting, we'll start off with our question and answer session with Dr. Menzel, and then we're going to hear about district marketing and communications with Christine Harrington. And we also have Casey Struck here to talk about strategic partnerships. And after their presentation, we'll have executive board updates, including committee updates, and we'll end with any representative or announcements from school reps. Okay, so if you have not filled out a card and you have a question for Dr. Menzel, please fill it out and bring it up. Okay, our first question is, my student's afternoon bus has regularly been 30 to 60 minutes late to pick up the students from school. I assume it is staffing related. Is this an issue at other schools?
I don't know which school that is, but I will say that it is an issue. We continue to struggle to find drivers, and then if any call out sick, our transportation director and his team that normally should be working in the office managing things are driving all the time. So we're continuing to try to recruit. It's difficult to find people who want to turn their back to 30 to 60 kids and drive Scottsdale roads. But if you know of anybody who's interested, we're interested. We keep working on trying to address that challenge, but it is still an ongoing problem. And it's not unique to Scottsdale.
Okay. So I have a question, and that is, what is the status of the AEL? Well, I guess maybe remind us what it is, because I was talking to someone recently and they didn't know what it was, and what's the status of it?
So aggregate expenditure limit, constitutional provision in Arizona that caps how much the state can spend on public education. Impacts district public schools, but not charters, because the constitutional amendment was approved in 1980, and charters didn't exist in 1980. So long story short, most years it doesn't matter. We don't get to the cap, and it's not been an issue. There have been, I think, 3 times now in the state's history where we've exceeded the aggregate expenditure limit. So every year the ADE has to run a calculation. In November 1st, they make that public to say, here's what the amount that's allowed per the Constitution. Here's what the legislature appropriated. If the amount appropriated is more than what's allowed by the Constitution, the legislature has an opportunity with a 2/3 vote in the House and Senate to override it. So it allows the districts to spend the money that was appropriated. If they choose not to override it, then districts have to reduce their budgets by a fixed percentage. It's an equal percentage across all districts. In this case, we're looking at a 17% reduction, or $30.1 million for Scottsdale Unified, if they don't approve it. The disappointing thing for me is that the money's in the bank. The state has record reserves. They indicated they wanted to fund public education. It was a bipartisan budget, which happens very rarely in the state of Arizona. And so there's no reason not to approve it. The real question becomes, does the governor call a special session between now and the end of the calendar year for the people who approve the budget to do the override? That makes the most sense. Or do we kick the can down the road and let the new group of legislators, many of whom don't understand the AEL, do we kick the can down the road and hope that they'll do the right thing? The economic impact of the state of Arizona is about $1.3 billion. So if you think about taking that amount of money out of the local economy, it's going to be devastating not only for Scottsdale, but think about small rural communities where the largest employer is the school system. Think about districts where they don't have healthy fund balances or other cash accounts that can help blunt the pain in the first year. So we might be able to do some things to get through the year, and it would have a ripple effect for multiple years in Scottsdale. There are schools that would absolutely have to shut their doors. There's no question about it, because they would not be able to make payroll, and they don't have cash in the bank to be able to pay it. In our case, as Shannon Crozier reminded people, we've collected the money from the taxpayers. It's in the bank. We just wouldn't have the authority to spend it. That's the crazy thing about AEL, but it's really important for people to understand.
When is the deadline, or like when would it?
So
when's the
March
date?
1st, if the legislature hasn't overridden the AEL by then.
Wasn't it later last year?
They did it February 28th. So if they haven't done it by March 1st, then districts by April 1st have to submit revised budgets to the state. So we have a month to modify our budget to cut by that amount.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions for Dr. Menzel?
So can I say something?
Yeah, I have one more. Is it time for parents to start, or community members to start talking to their representatives about this?
So I think there are two parts to that. One, there's an education process for people who are new to the legislature. So if and we have at least one in LD3, the two in LD4 that got elected both have some understanding of it, given Matt Gress worked in the governor's office, and Laura Tarek is a teacher and is up to date on those things. But I think it's really important to make sure they understand the importance. If anyone knows the governor, that's the call I would make, because he has the ability to call the special session. The people who lobby for a living have confirmed that there are sufficient votes to get 2/3 in the House and the Senate if a special session was called. That was one of the governor's conditions. So it's really about, honoring that commitment. So if there's movement, taking care of it now allows people to focus on the future. If we wait till the next legislature, even though many people are like, well, they wouldn't do something so crazy as not override it, you just don't know. And so let's take that off the table if we can. And the other thing I want to say is thank you. Thank you to the voters who supported the district additional assistance override. I think when you look at a community's willingness to invest in its public schools, it says a lot. And we're really grateful that 53% of the voters said yes in the midterm election. We look forward to working with our new governing board members. If you haven't seen it, Amy Carney and Karen Werner are the top two vote getters. And while there are a few votes that remain to be counted, it's highly unlikely that that changes. And so we'll work on the process of orientation and onboarding for the new board in January. Any other questions? If not,
Okay.
thank you for
Thank
the
you so
opportunity
much.
to meet here, and you know how to reach me.
Okay, so our main presentation today is communications and marketing, and we have Christine Harrington and Casey Struck. Let's see where this is. Do you want this?
Oh, sure. Well, good morning, everyone. Some of you I know, but for those of you I don't, I'm Christine Harrington. I'm the Director of Communications and Marketing. A little bit about me. I was a lifelong television news reporter. That's what brought me to Arizona back in 2008. And then in 2014, I decided to leave that career behind and came to the district. So this is my second time here in Scottsdale Unified, and had this job 2014, 15, 16, 17, and then actually went back to news. Now I'm back to the district, and I'm super happy to be here. I'm also a parent, most importantly. That's my favorite job. And my daughter goes to Pueblo, so definitely a strong believer in all things that we do here in the district. And I'm happy that I get to share the story that is Scottsdale Unified with all of our stakeholders. So some of our team is here. So the communications team, Victor Bobbitt, does a lot of graphics and stuff. He's also a parent, so I like that on our team. We have a lot of different perspectives and lenses. And then Sam, you may have noticed that there's a big increase in social media in the district and then across all of our pages. So I like to attribute that to Sam, who has helped implement Hootsuite and worked closely with our sites to get them up and going on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. If you're not following us, please do. And then we have Lainey over here, and she is our webmaster extraordinaire. So she does all things web and works with a web author at each of the schools as well. And then Casey is the newest addition. So Casey is our coordinator of strategic partnerships. So if you're familiar with our strategic plan, goal 4 area we'll talk a little bit about, but we're sort of charged with doing what we can to reestablish relationships that may have, I don't want to say they're gone, but maybe they're dormant, since COVID. And so we're reestablishing, reinvigorating, but of course we've got really strong partnerships that will stand the test of time with like the Charos and our own foundation, Honor Health, and some others. So just looking for other opportunities, and we'll dig into that here in just a couple minutes. But if you're not familiar with our strategic plan, I urge you to pick up one of our folders. We have some folders and just some fun stuff in our latest magazine over there for you guys to pick up on your way out. We've made sure this has been a really important component of this year. Our back to school rally included a lot of information about the strategic plan. All of our employees got these folders with information about who we are. New employees get it as well. Has some of the Scottsdale history also in those folders. So urge you to take a peek. And then of course on our website, you can find more information in all of our KPIs. And we're reporting out regularly now that we have we call them stat teams, so associated with each of the different goals. Safety and security, we've made a real push. Again, everyone's back, and I'm sure you're all aware, as the involved parents that you are, that doors are locked, and we're being very diligent about having everyone sign in. So if you are interested in what sort of our procedures look like and what our threat assessments and safety plans and some of the different approaches we have, not only to the physical safety, but then of course the emotional well-being of all of our students and staff. More information can be found on our website. We have the new safety and security brochure, which is also in the folder. And then of course, dig it. So I'm sure you guys already dig it. But we thought this was a fun acronym that just reminds kids, easy to remember, that doors are going to be locked. We want everyone, adults and students alike, wearing their ID badges, that the gates are going to be closed or locked or manned. And IT is a really important component too. In fact, we had a really great campaign that we launched during October, which was Cybersecurity Month. And so internally, just with our own employees, we had a phishing campaign, and we now have on our own Outlook where you can flag an email as phishing, and it was outstanding to see how many people are aware, because of course this time of year with all the online shopping, we're all vulnerable, so it's good lessons to take home too. Bag guidelines, if you're a high school sports fan, you already know that these are in place in our district, and they're not unlike those that exist with professional sports and college sports, but they will be coming to the middle school sports festivals. So heads up on that, and you may have already had that communicated to you by your kids' coaches and the likes thereof. We'll be sending out an email to remind all of those families, but this upcoming festival that happens at the high schools, the expectation will be the bag guidelines will be in place. We're also working really hard to establish sort of a uniform approach to safety and security as well, and so have these new metal signs that just, again, reiterate the law and are on all of our campuses and sites across the district. I'm just gonna roll through this, but you guys can stop me anytime, and if you have questions, we can chat at the end. But these are just some things that we're working on sort of currently, but I can tell you again what's in the pipeline. Kindergarten Roundup, we've still got a couple more, I think, this week, but these are ads that have been running on social media, and then additionally in the Progress and the Independent, and on like Niche and Nextdoor, so where families are already engaged sort of in finding schools, and then of course in our local community. So we've made it our mission not to use any stock photos. So we're using all of our own kids because we have awesome things happening, and we have like 21,000 models, and not quite, because if you opt out, we're very mindful. We always check the opt-out forms before we go to a site and take pictures. But we do have awesome things happening in the classroom, and it's so authentic. We don't need to stage anything. Yeah.
Do you guys reach out to the local private preschools in the area for kindergarten as well?
I don't know that we were really intentional about that this year. In the past, we have, and I think it's a good practice moving forward. Even the pediatricians and like the pediatric dentistry places, those kinds of things are really important. I know some of our principals have established relationships, sort of as what that pipeline is, like the local childcare for. And our greatest feeder is our own early childhood programs and the pre-Ks we have on our sites, and we're really working to develop those as well. So it's definitely on our radar, especially because there were so many kids that were late to enroll in kindergarten or kind of took that additional year during COVID. And so we're seeing, more come back. But what I can tell you is I just had a great meeting with our elementary school principals. Sequoia has a really good model with their play date, as you may be familiar with, where they bring, they host a kindergarten roundup. And we were just having this conversation. You can tell this is a place for your kid. You can just feel it, right? I mean, sometimes you can't put your finger on it, but it's a feeling. Like when you look for a college, same thing. So you know if this is the right fit for your kid. And so what at Sequoia they've done, and I'd like to see it be a model, and I think many of our principals now are entertaining something similar, is once the kids come and the families come to kindergarten roundup, then they remain in touch with those families. And it's as simple as inviting them back for an after-school play date on the playground, because as soon as the moms and dads start talking and connecting, and as soon as the kids feel comfortable on that playground, you have so many fewer tears or no tears at all that first day of school, because they've already sort of found a home, and it costs them like an otter pop. It's something really.
For example, Kiva Elementary right there, and on one side you have this Love Preschool, and on the other side you have
Valley Presbyterian.
They each have preschools, so
And I know Kiva does have a strong relationship with them. I don't know, it's not something that I'm involved with. I can't take credit. We also have an open enrollment campaign that launched, and each of these had a media release that accompanied it as well. So it got out there, and there were articles written about it in addition to the, so earned media in addition to just the paid media. But we really like this slogan, be challenged, be inspired, belong in SUSD. Try to capture a little bit of all of our different offerings and ages there on display. We want to do additionally an adult version, if you will, when we talk about recruiting some of the tough to fill positions. It's as important that teachers and bus drivers and everybody else feel connected and a sense of belonging in our district, that they want to come and work with us. So some of you may be familiar with Niche. So we have a school district profile, and we're looking to grow it to include some schools additionally in the coming year. And it's unbelievable, the traction that we have gained from this particular site, and the number of links, tours that have been scheduled, and clicks to our website, or even just to enroll now. So we've worked diligently to try to connect with the right audience, because obviously we want to always be very mindful of the dollars spent. So we're doing a lot of geo-fencing and retargeting of our message, and Niche additionally builds that in, which is really neat. So this has been a really great partnership for us. Oh, what I would ask you to do is if you like us, go on there and write a review. That would be really great too. City Sun Times is another one. So we used to have quarterly editorials that were written in there that Dr. Menzel would offer. And now they have sort of industry partners. So right now we're their only education industry partner. And so they'll write a monthly article on us. And so last month it was about enrollment, and we featured Laguna and Redfield elementary schools. And so this month, it'll come out on December 1st, is about early childhood. And if you live pretty much north of Shea in our district, you may be familiar with City Sun Times, you know, landing at your house. But then it's a lot larger reach. It goes up, you know, into North Scottsdale, like Greyhawk, and outside of our boundary, but still where we can attract students. So also over here is a copy of our magazine. It's, we printed few this year because paper shortages, paper costs, printing costs, you name it. So we have a few on hand though, and would love for you guys to pick one up and enjoy it. And then we have it on our website. So again, /susd.org/showcase, and it's there, a digital version. And we're going to send out a postcard, but even that, the price is climbing rapidly. And we had such success last spring with email campaigns. I mean, we could send an email campaign to 96,000 households with children, and it's like, it costs like nothing. And the click-through rate was astounding because, again, we were super thoughtful of the audience, so we were hitting the right target. So, so yeah, we talked about this morning. We may just go email route. Members Digest, again, they were another one that reached out to us, and you can see the different golf clubs listed there where they have this in a digital version as well, and they were looking for one industry partner. So we're the only education entity that's, you know, listed in those particular publications as well, which was kind of nice. So the SUSD source, so during COVID, what was the community connection, if you've been with us, you know, pre-COVID, then there was a monthly newsletter called the Community Connection, and it was emailed out each month. Well, then during COVID, obviously everything shifted to crisis communications, and I think it became like a weekly letter. Even I just started back in the district, gosh, almost a year ago now. I think I was confirmed I was approved at the November meeting last year. So, so it became weekly communications. Well, last spring, clearly things shifted, and that became a much more celebratory email, which was refreshing for all of us. And so we thought, how do we capture all of this in a new fashion, right? I mean, we talk about a new norm. What's our new norm for communications? So we developed the SUSD source, which is essentially a landing page for each of our department blogs. And they're updated every month, but then it's always there. And you'll always be able to find good information on all these different you know, academics, arts, athletics, you name it. And additionally, it's there for prospective families too, because the newsletter really would just land in the inboxes of the families we have, which is critical. I mean, we want you guys to always know what's going on, but additionally, we want to be able to connect with a larger audience and stakeholders that don't have children, but still have, you know, need to know our story and see the value in it. So we have the SUSD source. And if you haven't checked it out, we urge you to. We send you an email every month to let you know that it's updated, and then, of course, remind you on social media. Dr. Menzel already said as much, but thank you for supporting the override. We're super thrilled that that passed, and we do have 2 new governing board members, so now we get to work at welcoming them to the party. So we talked a little bit about my journey, and Dr. Menzel likes to call me a boomerang, and we've got a lot of them in the district, people who have left and have come back. And so I landed back at SUSD. Those are some pins we have. We also have a legacy pin because we really want to honor, last year as part of our 125-year celebration, we really dug into our legacy of success. And you'll see that more in just a second. But we wanted also to honor them with pins, and everybody's about pins and stickers these days. So we also have an Inspire one. So each of you, I have an Inspire pin for you if you'd like one. And if you're part of our legacy, did any of you go to our schools? Yay! Okay, so we'll give you a legacy pin. I know you'll be so happy rocking it. Here's our website page, so Legacy of Success. We have a survey, and I'll give you the QR code on the next page, but you can see what we're trying to build out, which is an alumni directory where you can search by industry. So you can see, folks that are in bioscience and healthcare and construction or consumer retail, and the list goes on and on, so by different industry. And the hope is that, some of these folks are additionally partners, or that our students will be able to network and identify others who have come through our system with maybe a similar passion and have made it happen, have made a difference or gone on to do something great that will inspire our current students. So, so this is growing. I think we're up to like 300 names, but of course we've been here for 125 years. So help us share the survey. And here, oh, shoot, this one doesn't have the QR code. It just says need a QR code. Oops. Okay. We'll email you guys the QR code and the link, but it's also on that website. So if you go to susd.org/legacy of success, the link lives there. And we've also been sharing it on social media, but here's a good example of what we're sharing out additionally is our Legacy of Success. Each week we feature somebody from in our system and somebody who's working out in the world outside of SUSD, to honor the difference that they're making. So partnerships. So I teased out a little bit goal 4, community engagement and partnership. So we are fostering relationships with mentors, volunteers, and business partners to provide real-world opportunities for students that enhance and strengthen our community. So we know parents are the very first partner in this education and in the education of our students, and we're just thrilled. I think tomorrow is Parent Involvement Day, so thank you all for being so involved. At last check, I think it's 1,780-something volunteers, approved volunteers and chaperones that we have, and something like 375 pending. So it's hard to imagine where our students would be without the support of parents in this district, so thank you. Additionally, all the support of our business leaders, community, the municipalities, you name it. We have a lot of intergovernmental agreements, and then additionally, just lasting partnerships with whether it's the Boys and Girls Club or a mom and pop shop. So what we're doing, though, really is trying to be intentional about expanding opportunities, even not only for our students, but for our teachers as well. Teachers, they're with kids all day, so it's tough to imagine it being a lonely job, but they are in a silo. And what we want them to do is to be able to connect outside with what it is they're teaching. I loved college because they were the most passionate people that were so close, that are my professors, because they were doing what it is I dreamed to do. And so having an opportunity for the teachers to connect again with the real world application of what's being taught in the classroom is something that we're trying to really forge moving forward. We've had some great bioscience alliances with like ASU and Honor Health for our teachers by way of the Charles and the Foundation. And so just looking to establish more of that for our teachers to also have those sort of externships and that field experience that we want so much for our students as well. And so we're doing a lot of work looking at time and use of time and how we can incorporate some of those things into the day and into their contract. We're also working with schools to develop wish lists, and by we, I mean Casey. And so Casey arrived and just like hit the ground running, which I so appreciate. And we have Salesforce version, that is our new like CRM tool for managing all of the different partnerships and alliances that exist throughout the district, trying to wrap our arms around sort of doing our own audit of what already exists, so we can make sure that there's value there. And if we got a warm lead or a cold lead, we're kind of taking that sales business development approach to it. And the great thing about this Salesforce that we discovered is that they do have a grant and a free version for K-12. So as long as we can make that work, we love the word free. So we're having fun establishing that, but just with a little different mindset than I think we had before, because we definitely want to measure the value of the time, talent, and the treasure, and then additionally look for opportunities to cross-promote, and then just continue to grow our reach by way of our partners too. Casey, do you want to come up and say something while we're on the topic, or at least introduce yourself and your background? Yeah.
All right, well, Christine pretty much went over everything that I do, but just to give you a background, my name is Casey Shuck. I am the Strategic Partnership Coordinator here at the district. Prior to this role, I was at Grand Canyon University doing sponsorships for the athletic department and business development. Before that, I was with the Arizona Coyotes when they were in Glendale. Now they're in Tempe, and they're figuring it out, but that was my background. So like Christine said, I'm going out into the community, trying to find ways that we can connect the businesses to our schools, whether that's helping our staff, or teachers, or students. So there's just one of me. There's a lot of passionate parents like some of yourselves, the PTA and PTO. So I'll leave my business cards somewhere up near the front, but you guys are one of the most important partners. You're out there in the community as well. You have connections with businesses, nonprofits, you name it. So if you already have an existing partnership relationship with someone that you think would be beneficial to Scottsdale, definitely reach out to me or talk to me afterwards. Would love to connect with you guys and see how we can better our students and staff here at Scottsdale. So before I pass over the mic, does anybody have any questions for me in particular? Perfect. All right, I'll hand it back over to you. Thanks, Christine.
You're welcome. Yeah, so it's been really neat because what we find is even a lot of folks in our business community, especially if you don't have kids. I mean, prior to me having a kid, it'd been a long time since I'd been in a K-12 classroom, and it looks entirely different than it used to. And so folks that either don't have children or just aren't embedded in the schools the way we all are, it's like, it's neat to see kind of their face, light up when they think about the opportunities to work with like IB or Math and Science Academy or some of our CTE programs and provide that real life experience. In fact, Sam just took a bunch of kids back to ASU and to PBS, right? And so there's lots of opportunities, and we're all digging in ourselves. I do have an ask of all of you. If you could spread the word. I know, right? So we actually are included on Chaparral's PTA newsletter. And what I'd appreciate is if maybe some of y'all can remind your friends at the sites to include us, SUSD Communications at susd.org, because there's so much cool stuff going on. And if we can ever help promote or share out additionally the things that you're doing, it's just good to have on our radar. So, it's not a must, but it's nice. And we appreciate it. Oh my gosh, hands down. No. Yes. Yes, thank you so much. I'm sure there were others in my inbox, but this one was just very recent, you can see. So. Trademark. Okay, so again, you're all very supportive of our schools. I know you make lots of swag and help support site council and principals and the student stores and the likes thereof. You may be boosters, and so there's that too. I will tell you, we are trademarking all school logos. So it's going to be our effort. I know, like Arcadia, if you go to the grocery store across the street, you're going to see a lot of their gear. If you go to the Target over here at Talking Stick, you're going to see Swaro swag and the likes thereof. But what we're trying to do, even when it's the right logo, some of that's just good branding. It's not going to be, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. But on social media, there's a lot of rogue accounts too. And it's tough for us to work to prove we are who we are. That's tough enough. But then to prove that they aren't who they are, having this all trademarked will make a big difference. And then additionally, if we do have our logos out there, we want there to be consistency. We want to own our brand. So anyway, if you have any questions about exactly what the logo is that's being trademarked and the colors, we can easily deliver that to you. And again, by we, I mean Victor. But we are happy to work with all of our sites and appreciate when the PTAs reach out. So if you have any questions, let us know about that. Right now, our high schools are trademarked. So this will be new, though, for our elementary and middle schools.
So what does that mean? They can use it as long as they have permission? Or
Right.
they can't use it at all?
Yeah, and we're not going to not give you permission, but we're just trying to make sure that basically we're all on the same page and, you know, we don't suddenly see a new dust devil appear, although that's a bad example because there are a couple that the principal showed some interest, like Pueblo's doing a rebuild. So if they were ever going to consider a different logo or a refresh, now would be the time, for example. That's not to say they are doing it, but I'm just using it as an example. So there's a couple we are holding back. Like Yavapai just moved into their building. There's a chance that they might be looking for a refresh. So I think there's about 4 that we're just gonna sort of slow roll, and we're gonna wait until the principals and their site councils are certain about their path forward. But the rest are all in an attorney's inbox. Yeah,
We're going to get high-quality vector PNGs and beads.
100%.
And when you say we will be able to use it, is that the PTOs and PTAs with the blessings of the school, not just every parent is able to?
Correct, exactly. So, so with permission, and you know, your principal can reach out to us and you know, CC you on the email, and absolutely, you would have permission. But we want the site councils too to be able to control what's being sold, for example, you know, and if it's going through their bookstore or what have you. Okay, so anybody from Copper Ridge or Saguaro? Okay, so today is early release. And today I will be at Saguaro and then at Copper Ridge because we are rolling out Parent Square. Get excited, this actually really is awesome. And it is going to be what we use to communicate, that is as far as teachers, administrators, and the district, starting July 1. However, we are piloting it with Saguaro and Copper Ridge second semester. And so today we're training their teachers. So I don't know about you, I only have 1 child, and yet I know I have to maybe be looking at Remind or Bloom or S'more, and there could be a number of different places that a parent would go. And then I can imagine at the secondary level when you have your child involved in additional clubs or extracurriculars, that there are more places. This will be a one-stop shop. And you can think of it as like Facebook, and you will already be a member of your school group. And then, you know, I would be a member of the mariachi band, the Dust Devil Singers, and the 4th grade. And so that's the way it would start to build out, is your site would start to build out clubs and extracurriculars, and you would have groups that would be following kind of like your Facebook feed. And then any post that they make would also be an email, but it'll also be where you get attendance calls and where you get robocalls. So it'll all be rolled into one-stop shop. That's not to say boosters and PTAs are gonna communicate this way, it's not. So like if the boosters are doing the primary communication for one of our football programs, you know, that may still be the case. But this also has sort of that instant text message ability, but it's not texting a student cell phone. It would be essentially sending a message to a student app, and this has all kinds of oversight. So what we want to make sure is that any communication with a student and or with a family, that we are able to make sure that we're communicating in the most professional manner so that we're supportive of our students and our staff.
So will it be like so they won't send regular emails, or they'll be like additional to? You'll have this app and then they'll also send you.
If you never download the app, you'll just get an email. It'll just look like an email. You would probably be none the wiser. It maybe says Parent Square on there somewhere. But if you never download the app, you're still going to get a text message. You're still going to get a robocall if that was necessary. You would still get the email. If you're a parent that decides to opt out of communication, you cannot opt out of attendance, and you cannot opt out of, you know, urgent alerts, which are essentially lockdowns.
Will get both though? Will you have the app
So you would, yes, so you would decide. So like I have downloaded it and been playing with it, and I have it set up, and this is the default to a digest. So unless it's urgent, I'm not going to get an alert right now, because if you are a secondary parent, you might be getting alerts all day. I don't know. Hopefully, we don't go crazy, right? Oh, okay. Well, hopefully now you will get communication. It'll be that easy. But the idea is, so like mine would be, the default is that you would get a digest of anything that was not emergency or urgent alert. But an urgent alert would override that. So at 6 o'clock, I would get an update in my email from anything that came from the school, or any group, essentially, that I follow or I'm part of. Or you can see it in the app. Yeah, either way.
So I have the opposite problem. I feel like I'm oversaturated and inundated with too much communication. Will this streamline it and create it so that we're not getting so many emails?
So that's excellent feedback too, because what we don't want is people to go crazy and over communicate now because they have the tool to do so. So being thoughtful about when you're actually messaging, and that, just because you can send an alert doesn't mean you should. Like, did it really need to be a robocall or a text? Unless it's an emergency, it didn't. So that's some of the coaching that we're providing as well as this rolls out. And today it'll start with Saguaro and Copper Ridge. There is a Student Square. It's the same thing, but they call it Student Square because no kid's going to download Parent Square. And so especially from the secondary level, this might not be something that our principals want K-5, but at the secondary level where they're really involved in a lot of things, where we hear time and time again that they're not really always great about checking their GApps, emails. And so downloading this app would get that instant message kind of alert from the librarian, for example, that the book they wanted is there before it gets sent back to the site that they had requested it from. And they don't have to text message that kid. We want everyone protected. We want all communications to be there and there to be some sort of governance, and additionally, to increase engagement within reason. Yeah.
I'm thinking at the secondary level where so much of the communication happens directly with students. Will this be in addition to Google Classroom? Will it somehow sync up?
So in addition to Google Classroom. So if we're not taking away Google Classroom, but what we're saying is some of our sites are paying for S'more. They're paying for Bloom. They're paying for these things, and others are just using a free version. And if they're using a free version, they have no oversight. And if they're paying for something, this will free up those site funds that they can use on other things. So if we pay for it as a district, then, or if you guys are paying for their communication, then great, this will free up your funds. But this will be, the district providing the platform. So if you know anyone in Peoria, they just recently rolled this out in July, this new fiscal year. However, they waited on teachers. They just did it district and site admin, and they waited on the teacher component until just this second quarter. And so they're still sort of learning as well.
So if this is supposed to kind of condense all communication into one area, and you're talking about district level, school level, teacher level, does this then trickle down even to PTO level? What about even like room parent level? Because if those are still separate, then you're still going to be having communication in all different areas, whether it's a Facebook group of the grade parents or a room parent that's sending information just across. So how does that all those different layers?
So it will not be PTO or PTA because you're a separate nonprofit agency separate from our school district, and it could be construed as misuse of public funds if we were to provide essentially like a license to a PTA. And so until like more thought is given to that and we figure out if there would be a way, this would not be a place for PTA, but this would be a place for school, coach, club sponsor, like I said, anything associated with the school short of like, you guys, and then the district in one place.
So if you have multiple kids at multiple schools, it will
One
all
place.
be, and you'll see all the communication
Yes.
your kids get to on their
You wouldn't see necessarily the communication that they get if it was sent to them.
so you can't. Okay. Then
So like if,
people to think what they're seeing.
Well, like right now, right. So like right now, teachers might be emailing your student on their GApps account, and they might continue to do that. You would not see that.
So you could, but then you could download, so you as a parent could log into your student, download the student one too, you could see their communication.
I mean, I guess, yeah.
Because I mean, like, I think most parents probably have their kids' GAP, like they have access to their kids' Google Classrooms on their themselves.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just was wondering if you could see that, so.
No, I mean, just the idea is that, you know, so I've been told sometimes there are text messages, and even if they're harmless, it's nice to have insight into the conversation, and it should not be happening on a cell phone via text message. If it pops up on a cell phone with an alert because of an app that's been downloaded that we have oversight of, that's different. Like, if we ever needed to, I could read it. If the principal needed to, they could read it. But we could see all the messages that were sent. So we'll be able to get all kinds of analytics, like see a dashboard, know that this had 100% delivery. Or if it went to 99%, there was one parent, then we can say, excuse me, please meet with the registrar and update your information in Synergy. So there's so much greater oversight that will help with the parent engagement, that's where we really see the power. Does that make sense? If we have audio and you guys have 3 minutes, I don't know how I am on time, I can play this little video, or I could just email you the link, or if you want the presentation, then the link will just be there. That's probably better. Okay, so, because when we talk about, so Parent Square, that brings up like communications best practice. So in the certified employee agreement, it says that if you email a teacher, that they will at least acknowledge your email within 24 hours. Even if they don't have an answer for you right away, they're gonna acknowledge receipt of it. And so this is another component of that, that if you email a teacher, that's not gonna be part of Parent Square, of course, but if a teacher wanted to talk to you, they could do it in Parent Square. But we're all still going to have district email, right? GApps isn't going away, or at susd.org isn't going away. But within this platform for like newsletters or calendar, for signups, so like Sign Up Genius, gone, field trip forms, gone, volunteer forms, gone, everything can be in there. And the calendar that they put in there can sync to your phone. All of that will be within Parent Square. And so we're really hopeful that it makes it that much easier for everyone to be responsive. And then I did just want to point out that all of our org charts have been updated even down to each individual department on our website. So if you are wondering who to contact because you have a particular question or concern, you can go to the org chart, or hopefully you're all very familiar with Let's Talk. I frequently find myself reminding families that if they have a question or concern, to start closest to that question or concern, like maybe with the teacher. And then, you know, if you're not getting, you know, the information that you need, of course, follow up with the principal. And then, you know, if that's not working out for you, then follow up with, you know, maybe Dr. Sakos or whoever it is, if it's secondary, or Margaret Cerna if it's elementary. But just knowing sort of how you're going to get the quickest resolution, because otherwise for us at the district office, it takes some time to figure out what's actually going on. So you'll find hopefully quicker resolution by starting closer to your student and the source. Social media is not the best place to have a concern posted and then get any kind of feedback. I mean, we try to monitor it, but if you just ask us the question, then a lot of the misinformation can be quickly handled. So if you do have a question or concern, you are always welcome to call me. I think my cell phone too is on the website. And then additional items. So we're working hard to update school brochures for those tours. We are working diligently on tours, looking at what best practices are, and in fact have a tour survey and are following up with families who tour our schools to find out what worked, what didn't, so that we can just get better about welcoming families, hopefully into the fold. And then website upgrades. Blackboard currently hosts our website, but they got sold. So now's as good a time as any to think about whether or not we want to stay with Blackboard that will become Final Site. If we want to get rolled into that, great, but it provides an opportunity for us to at least explore what else is out there. So more to come on that. And then an enrollment survey. We do an exit survey when families leave and try to figure out, why it is that they're leaving. But I think it's also as important to find out why people choose us. And so we're doing an enrollment survey and looking to gain information on what it is that they connected with that brought them to Scottsdale Unified. I think that's all I got for you. Yeah.
I have a question. You spoke earlier about how you were marketing the district throughout Scottsdale. At the site level, what marketing resources or materials are available? I know you mentioned brochures just now, and encouraging parents to write reviews on Leash. But other than that, what can we at the school level use for marketing? Like Cheyenne's 25th anniversary is this year. I mean, are we able to get banners? Are we able to get any kind of materials? What's available?
Yeah, so we work with the sites as that's a perfect example. So yeah, as different things pop up, then absolutely we're there to support. So Victor was just there flying the drone to get a picture of all the students lined up in the shape of 25. Yeah, I thought so too. It looks super awesome. And so then what we want to do with that picture, where it lands, like if it lands on a program for an upcoming event, however we can support those efforts. We have a Google form now because with 30 sites, it's like we're running an agency, right? Because we've got 30 distinct clients that all want everything now, which is lovely, but it's sometimes tough to manage with a small but mighty force here. And so we have a Google form, so we're not losing track, hopefully, of what the requests are coming in from the site. And I ask that if it comes in from a PTA, because again, it's misuse of public funds. As much as we love you and want to support you, we also work for the school. And so, so it's more about that request, like in your case, coming from Grace and saying, here's how you can support an upcoming event. And then of course, that's what we would do. So yeah, and Grace would have that list. So again, that would be only for internal requests. But yeah, that's something that we would be able to fulfill. Yeah. And as far as like other marketing material, so all of the schools have folders. So what's in front of you is a district version, but all of the schools have a version that we've created for them specifically, and then like their own letterhead, newsletter templates, thank you cards for tours. So we ask that they follow up and send a thank you card to those who have come to visit their campus and for anything else. So that information is all on the iDrive under the marketing toolkit. And yeah, frequently, I mean, everybody, they are instructional leaders that are working really hard to also be marketing leaders, but that's not what they went to school for. So we're here to support them as best we can, and when we need to remind them where to find something, we're happy to do it, because this is, we know, not everything can be your priority all the time. So as best we can support them, that's what we're here for. Any other question? Yeah.
So is there any plan to market to families in other school districts that maybe don't have programs that Scottsdale has, like IB or CGP, K through 12?
So we do, and what I should have done is brought an example, but I can even forward it to you to share. So like last year, last spring, we did an IB email, and again, it went to Scottsdale families, of course, but then additionally outside, like almost to, basically to the 51, up through Cave Creek, and then Fountain Hills, and, North Tempe, essentially. So we went like way out around our boundary as well. And our click-through rate was amazing. Like it blew away industry standards. And so I'm thinking that these email campaigns are the way to go. We also did one for our STEM Cognia certified schools. So we had 3 schools that were STEM Cognia certified. And that's Saguaro High School with the Math and Science Academy, which is obviously a unique offering. They open enroll way more kids for that than football. And but we hear a lot about football. So, so for the Math and Science Academy, that's another good example. And then Laguna and Navajo each were also STEM certified. So we did one on that, but we'll be revisiting IB, especially because Anasazi, had their visit, and they are also, very likely here soon to be announced as another pre-IB program. So then we'll have that entire continuum, that whole K-12 continuum. Yeah.
And you're in Pueblo
100%. So we did a dual language immersion email last year as well, and that had great success. But yes, and we will be working more so on that. That was another one where we were able to get some earned media and had we did Mandarin and Spanish in the same one. But given now that we have the biliteracy pathway, that's why we did it in spring, because that's what's sort of new, a new component of that program to continue to inspire the students to stick with it. Because the biliteracy seal is no easy feat, and it's a long time coming. So if you're in 3rd grade, it's like getting that pathway means something, I think, to the 5th graders and then, 8th graders. So that was something that we did last year, but we can't do enough of it. We got to continue, because you never know what is going to land or when it's going to land and if it's the right time. So now during open enrollment, we're also looking at schools that obviously could use a little additional love. And so working closely with them to do some press releases and get media out there. Fox News loves to come out and do silly things in the morning. And sometimes that's fun, but it's also a lot for our schools to navigate. So, it's like you got to strike the right chord, find the right balance. Anything else, guys? Yeah, well,
Thank
thanks
you
so
so
much. Grab a little fidget and a pen and a magnet. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, up next we have updates from the executive board. Our first update is a budget update. So we have had donations from 15 schools, and that is the only new change from last month. All of the expenses are the same as last month. Okay, our next meeting in December will be December 7th. It's in the evening, and we are going to hear from a panel of National Board Certified Teachers. Scottsdale has, I think, over 80. And so we're going to hear from a panel of teachers who have the certification, kind of about what the process is about, how does it benefit their teaching, and then most importantly, how does it benefit our students. Okay, so now we're going to get into committee updates. I'm going to start with special education and then gifted because they're short, and then we'll hear from our EDI committee, and then I'll give the update for the social responsibility. So special education has an event coming up at the end of the month. It'll be in room D, just down the hall, in the evening, November 30th, starting at 6 o'clock, and it's going to be on SUSD services. They're going to have a lot of speakers. At least one of them is Shannon Cron, so if that's something that you're interested in, please consider attending. Oh, whoops, I don't want to give. Okay, so gifted, there's no slide for it, and the update is we have a parent chair. Her name is April, and if I mispronounce this, April, and you're listening, I'm sorry. April Beobuff. She is from Desert Canyon Elementary, and she and Sarah Torelhorn are going to get started, and hopefully we'll have some more updates with events coming on that in the future. But we have a parent chair, so we're really excited about that. Okay, Shannon, you want to give the EDI update?
Thank you. All right, Shannon Wall. I'm the DEI co-chair. So currently we are working on the Native Person Project, which we completed. We sent to be posted on the Scottsdale Parent Council website, which is where we are looking at all the schools that have Indigenous names and providing facts and history on them, so that could be shared with the parents as well as the schools. We are also partnering with Rose America again on a presentation that again will be available to the parents to come and watch. The topic we chose is teaching age-appropriate social justice. So watch the social media page for updates on when that is scheduled, and please join us. And then a DEI club will be piloted in Desert Mountain High School. Currently, we're working on connecting with a student interested in leading that program. We're also thinking of starting with a student-led town hall. And then just another little key item for Desert Mountain, the site committee needs a community liaison to join the site committee. So if you know anybody that lives in the Desert Mountain complex in the community, please send them to them so that they can add them to the Desert Mountain site committee. Thank you.
Okay, so our next committee is the Social Responsibility Committee, and they are, well, I should have put the member slide first. I'll show you that next. So they are working on making all of SUSD more inclusive and kind. And they wanted to share this statement about research, which is that studies show that bullying has an impact on a student's academic performance as well as their overall well-being. As members of this committee, they strive to build relationships to improve communication and collaboration between families, school, and district leaders. So their current members are Lisa Canarish. She's the co-chair with Karen Gifford. Lisa's at Cocopah, Karen's at Mojave. And this year they're going to have Alex Young, who's at Pueblo, is on it. Dr. Libby Hartwells, who's a Desert Mountain parent and a governing board member, is also going to work with the committee. They have a community member, Francine Sumner. What's the name of her nonprofit? And she runs Kid in the Corner. And they're going to be working with Margaret Cerna. They're looking for a teacher or a stakeholder representative position, and also a principal or assistant principal. And if you're interested in this committee, I didn't want to put their emails and cell phones on because we post this on the internet. You can email me at president@scottsdaleparentcouncil.org, and I will put you in touch with Lisa and Karen. Let's see what else. So they also wanted to say they don't currently envision having a student member on this committee, but it is something they're exploring in partnership with the district. In particular because the Student Advisory Board does very similar work on improving school climate and making sure that kids feel like they belong. The final point I want to make before I open it up for representative announcements is that parents are welcome to join any committees. And if that's something you're interested in, I do think the easiest way is just to email me, and I will connect you with whichever committee you're interested in working with. Okay, do we have any representative announcements? No? Okay, thank you so much for attending. We'll see you in December.